Hello everyone. I want to thank you if you've subscribed to my channel at last Ringmaster on YouTube. I really appreciate it. I see the numbers are going up, and so apparently people are listening to me, and I think that's really kind of you. As I've said before, I make these videos really therapeutically for myself, and hopefully they resonate with you. I want to share with you a thought I had today, and it's very simple. In the wake of these horrific tragedies that continue to plague the United States, these mass shootings, we saw a few in just this past couple of weeks. And the thought I had was, in the midst of the commentary and the politicizing and the thoughts and prayers, is the universal gratitude of the survivors, be they black, brown, red, yellow, or white, be they rich or poor, whatever their status may be. It's a universal jubilation they seem to have, and that is that they're alive. I had a story of a gentleman, and he was in his hospital beds, and wires and cords coming out of him to keep him going, and he was one of the survivors, I believe, of the Dayton shooting, no, the El Paso shooting, and he met with the police officer who was instrumental in saving his life. And you know, he of course was lauding her and calling her his guardian angel, but like so many other survivors, he just kept reiterating, I'm just happy I'm alive. I'm just glad to be alive. Not I'm glad to go back and pay that mortgage off, go back to work. But to be alive, to be here. There's only one step between me and death. There's only one step between us and death, and there's something so surreal, so impactful, that brings us back to earth when we are confronted with our mortality. Suddenly, so much of what we cling to or what we pursue, and generally most of what we pursue isn't about life, it's about things, it's about stuff that has wings, that really has no bearing on our eternal nature. It is fascinating that when we're confronted with that mortality and we come through, how everything is pulled into perspective. I recall having to preside over one of the tremendous accidents that I had ever experienced in my career. In the circus, 8 of my friends had descended to a concrete floor with an apparatus on their heads from 30 feet up almost. I didn't know if they were alive or dead, but in that moment and in the aftermath, I realized how petty so many things I'd been mulling over just that week were. I realized the gift and joy of being able to just take a breath uninhibited, to move my limbs uninhibited. I think we need to be more grateful. I think we need to have more gratitude. I think this is the reason why we're commanded to honor our mothers and fathers. And to many of you, that may be a very hard pill to swallow, because as quiet as it's kept, many mothers and fathers aren't honorable. But I want to let you know that they're not required to be. There's no law that says your mother and father have to love you or even mentor you or be kind to you. But they are mothers and fathers because they birth you. And so whatever they are, the one thing they gave you was life. You're alive. And when you're alive, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to go forth and find why you're alive and to pursue that why. Not to be caught up, as so many of us are, in the day-to-day of what I call dead obligations. I mean, when we really think about it, the pursuit of money, the pursuit of the home and the car, there's nothing wrong with things, but how often in our desperation to be supposedly secure do these things take priority over being alive? I just want you to take that in, and I want you to absorb that, and I want you to understand what I'm saying here. I recently, just yesterday, lost a dear friend, beautiful man. And when I say that, it's not just hyperbole. He was a tremendous human being. We never failed to say, I love you to one another, something that I thank God for, because so many of us as men, we don't hear it enough from other men. We really do a horrible thing to the emotional life of men, and then we wonder why we get the kind of men that we do. But this brother of mine, this friend of mine, was such a sweet and insightful presence in my life. He was also a fantastically talented musician. He and I made wonderful music together. We produced an album together, in fact. And he meant a lot to me. I can't say I was exactly thrown aback upon hearing the news of his passing. In our last few conversations over the year, I sort of sensed life was seeping out of him. Not merely because he had been battling with his health, because many people can be battling with their health, but they still can be lively, and they can be at peace with whatever's going to happen. But it was more than that. See, my friend, who was a gifted musician, he had confided in me that he hadn't touched a piano in well over a year. Yeah, I mean, that stunned me. That was the thing that hurt me most, because I knew how much he loved music, and I knew how gifted he was in it, and I knew how much it brought him to life. And this is really the purpose of this message today, because I want to insist that we never lose the joy of living. Never lose that which brings you to life. Despite the world, despite all that you have to go through, and I get it. Listen, I'm going through it now, you know, where you have to make those hard decisions because, you know, between putting food on the table or your dreams, where you have obligations, because we all know the truth. Any artist can tell you your bills and your familial obligations, they don't wait for your dreams to come to pass, for you to make up. You know, they come on time, and there are things you have to do. And I don't object to anybody doing what they have to do, but don't get so caught up in doing what you have to do. Don't get so caught up in the so-called obligations of life that you lose why you're here. Look, Jesus was a carpenter, but his mission wasn't to be a carpenter. He had a ministry. He was a carpenter to put food on his table, to fund his ministry, to work, but he was always what he was. And so I say this to one and all. Don't get caught in this rat race. Don't get caught in the woes of this world. It's so seductive. It's so easy. It's understandable, especially those of us with families and, you know, just so many things and so many obligations. But The challenge, the journey in living that life is to remember why. Remember your why. Remember the thing that brings you to life, that lifts you up, that springs out of you, and that feeds others, that really gives you your real source of living and purpose of living. Don't forget the thing that brings you the most joy while trying to make a living. I believe that's what I'm trying to tell you, and I hope you can take that with you. And I will see you later. I hope you will share this and think on this as I'm thinking on it, because this is for all of us. I don't consider myself some kind of guru or anything, but think of this as somewhat of a video journal, and I'm glad you're on the journey with me. God bless you. I love you. If you haven't heard it today, you are worthy, and you are here for a purpose, for a reason. Look at me sweating. That was me taking a walk earlier today, and if you hear some sounds in the background, that's the rain. It's no problem with rain, but again, I love you. I thank you for joining me. I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to me. And hearing that sound of thunder, I think it's time for me to go. God bless you.